Good morning from lovely Sonoma County. This is another episode of Redwood Coast Studio. We're here with my good friend Sheldon, who is the logistics coordinator for one of my very favorite nonprofit charities in the whole world, the Schoolbox Project. Good morning, Sheldon.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for inviting us out to your property, and we've got a lovely school bus here that goes on location with the Schoolbox Project that we're going to get to in a minute. But right now, I'd like to ask you, generally speaking, I know you can't get too much into it, what is the Schoolbox Project and what does it do?
The Schoolbox Project is an organization that goes into crisis areas and areas that have been affected by disaster and attempts to help the community deal with the trauma that they're experiencing from those situations.
Okay, cool. Now, I believe it started in Greece. Was that the first project that was ever manifested?
Yeah, that's right. In the spring of 2016, in the port of Piraeus outside of Athens, that was the inception.
Okay, and how did it all start?
Well, Bell's the executive director of the Schoolbox Project. Bell and I had gathered up a bunch of people from Sonoma County after our first trip, and we're attempting to lead them out there to help out with the Syrian crisis or the refugee crisis that was taking shape in Athens. And we weren't there as the Schoolbox Project. We were just there as independent volunteers, and Bell found herself at the port and realized there wasn't really any services for the children. The children were just kind of running around doing their own thing. And I was in Excheria, which is the anarchist quarter, doing some work with a squat there at a school, and she gave me a call and said, "Hey, Sheldon, I need to get some money together to get a shipping container. Can you come on out here this afternoon and help me put it together?" And that was it.
That's awesome. The Schoolbox Project, the name, as I understand, Schoolbox, comes from the fact that the first thing you guys did was take shipping containers, which I've heard the story from Belle. She was just driving through, the port towns of Greece and taxi cabs on the way to the refugee camp, and Greece is full of shipping containers, and she's like, "There's no schools in these refugee camps. These kids need a place to be." And either you or she or a group of you got the inspiration to retrofit these shipping containers into little one-room schoolhouses for the kids.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, it was totally Belle's idea, but yeah, being down there at the port and seeing all the empty containers, I guess it just kind of clicked. And a lot of times NGOs have a problem securing a place to be able to work out of. So by utilizing the shipping containers, which are basically everywhere in the world nowadays, it was an easy fit,
And you've got a lot of construction skills, and we're able to really get in there with the
construction skills. I don't know.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Professionals might think something different about that, but
he can turn a shipping container into a one-room schoolhouse for children who are fleeing war-torn countries, and who have often suffered unspeakable trauma. And that's one of the specialties of the Schoolbox Project is trauma-informed education, where I know the services they provide the kids are specifically tailored to children that have experienced things in life that probably 99% of our viewers here could not imagine, literally, sailing across the sea, fleeing across the desert, watching their parents, suffer tragedy, things like that.
We've been there a few years now, and sometimes we're the only organization out there holding it together.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I do know that, and you can also find out if you go to schoolboxproject.org. Is that the website?
Yeah, that's it.
Schoolboxproject.org. You can read some stories and testimonials from some of the kids and families that have received the services that are so heartwarming and inspiring that you think that it's fiction, but it's not. It's real stories of kids who are receiving, care and love and coloring books and education and toys and stuffed animals for the first time in sometimes their whole lives, whether they be 3 years old or 5 years old or 17 years old, and testimonials of kids saying their lives have been turned around and literally saved in some cases by these services. And so I know because of that success, you guys, I know a lot from talking to Belle, but when other crisis happened around the world, it was like, well, wait, can we do something to help there, even though we're already overworked and a little bit stretched thin in what we're doing? We do seem to have a knack for helping kids in crisis situations. And so where were some of the next places that you guys went?
Yeah, well, I mean, after Greece, one of the next things that popped up that caught, we have a great team. Like, we're always reading the news. It's like the first thing we do every morning. And the minute there's any kind of crisis pops up on the map, someone's, getting a message going like, hey, what's it going to take to go here? So after Greece, the next place we went was to Bangladesh because of the Rohingyas fleeing Myanmar. And yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah. And what did you do specifically? I know hearing stories about it was more building something from the ground up instead of just retrofitting a shipping container. Is that correct?
Well, it was a lot different. We went into the whole idea thinking that the shipping containers in the Schoolbox project would be the way that we operated around the world, and then we quickly realized, they don't always fit. They don't always. We can't always get them where we need to go. So, as far as how Bangladesh got started, it was just as the logistics coordinator. It's that's kind of a catch-all term for
Yeah.
me. The first thing that I had to do was kind of establish communication with some locals on the ground or other organizations on the ground and try to find out, first of all, can we even fit in here? Do they even want us here?
Okay.
And then once that happens, Monica's our child protection officer and trainer extraordinaire, and she wears many hats too. But the two of us, we went out there and we got a local fixer, and we took a little tut out to the camps and met with the people that we had been speaking with via social media and online, and really just went there to assess the situation, see how we could operate. And it was obvious the school box wasn't going to work. We were talking about over 1 million refugees inside of a camp. We're talking about mountainsides being clear cuts so that these people could live.
Wow.
So that they could live. You could stand on top of the hill and look out and just see nothing but rolling hills of refugee camps.
Fleeing Myanmar.
Yeah. And so it's kind of when we also realized that as Westerners or, white people, like maybe there's a better way than just us coming here and dropping our box down and putting our flag up and saying, hey, we're here to help you.
Yeah.
And maybe instead it would be a better idea to team up with a national organization already on the ground that, spoke the language a lot better than we did. Because in Greece, English wasn't necessarily a problem. I mean, a lot of the refugees spoke English, or not a lot, but enough that we could get by. In Bangladesh, that's not the case.
So much.
Yeah, the English wasn't happening. So it just became obvious that instead of trying to be, a white savior coming in to help the Rohingyas, that maybe it would be better to ask them what they wanted. How could we help?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, this is the help we're giving, say, hey, what help do you want from us?
Yeah. And so what was the response? Did you do that?
Yeah, and so that's what we did. And the Mastul Foundation, which is a Bangladesh organization that already was helping Bangladeshi children, saw their brothers coming from Myanmar and said, we got to help them too.
Okay, so one thing I'd like to do now is take a look at this fantabulous contraption that's been in front of us the whole time behind our great cameraman Sage there. It's the school bus for the school box. And tell us a little bit about this and where it came from and what it has done so far.
Wow, so the school box, or the school bus, or the schoolie as we call it, came about after or because of Hurricane Harvey. We were trying to figure out how can we help. So Belle and
we're gonna walk around.
Belle, Jackie, and I hopped on a plane and we flew down to Houston. Again, after making contact with some local organizations, and we flew down to Houston just to see what can we do, how can we help.
Yeah.
And after a few days of talking to people, we realized having a fixed location with a container, it wasn't going to work. That's not what the environment would allow. And we quickly came up with the idea. Volunteers were going through neighborhoods helping to muck out and clean up flooded homes. And when they did that, when these groups came in and the homeowners were there helping clean out their own homes, they didn't really have anywhere or anything to do with their kids. School was
Yeah.
out because of
Yeah,
the
schools
flooding.
were destroyed in
Right.
some cases.
So the kids were just around.
Yeah.
And we thought, man, if we could get a mobile unit together and we could move along through each neighborhood with the volunteers cleaning out the houses, we could just provide a space that the kids could go to while the parents were cleaning out their homes. And we might not be providing any sort of education or anything. We could just give the parents a reprieve, and we
Yeah.
could give the kids a place to go
Yeah.
and act like kids again.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
we
that's
just-
awesome.
we found.
Let's take us on.
Yeah.
Take us on the bus. I feel like Mr. Rogers. Let's take us on the bus and show us what's
Well,
up here.
There's a. This is the bus being dormant. But when we got the bus, the first thing we did, we only had a few days once we bought the bus before we wanted to take off. So we got some local builders and we kind of stripped it out and got some tables built. And we got Ricky Watts, which you saw the paint job outside. Ricky Watts
Yeah.
donated his time and painted the bus up for us
Okay.
so that we'd stand out. And the bus, we really, most of the action happens outside the bus.
If I can pull this back, I see some school supplies here, desks for small children, and chairs, and fences.
And we have like some astroturf, and what we basically do is we create like a little yard outside the bus.
Okay.
So the bus pulls up, they create the yard, and the kids come, and they do their thing,
Yeah.
color, talk,
Yeah.
play, whatever, crafts.
And one thing I've heard from other members of your organization is that, sometimes you're giving the kids serious, education that they've been lacking. But like you mentioned earlier, sometimes it's just like, let's just let these kids be kids and take the burdens of what's been happening off their shoulders and off their minds, and let them play and kick a soccer ball or whatever.
That's exactly right. I mean, if the situation warrants, then we try to set up an education program. But sometimes that's not what's needed. For us, I think that the education aspect of it is kind of a way for us to interact with the children, to assess their trauma,
Okay.
and decide,
Yep.
how we can best help them.
Yep.
We're not trying to be a school.
Yeah.
But
These kids just watch their homes just get destroyed.
That's right. And
know.
like in the case in Androvita out in Greece, now they're starting to go to the Greek schools, but before they had been out of school for years, because of the war in Syria. Their schools, their homes had been destroyed. They'd been on the run forever. So, and if they're going to be in Europe, then maybe they need to start learning the Greek language. Maybe they need to start learning the Greek numbers. If this is going to be your new home, it's going to be a lot easier. So in those instances, we try to keep basic education going.
Okay, cool. Let's step back outside, and I want to talk about. What local? I know you guys really helped out. I believe during the Sonoma County wildfires of October 2017, right?
Yeah, that was just last year.
ago.
That was just last year. There was, Monica, one of our own team members, had her house destroyed. I mean, that fire really hit close to home, and that's when we realized, well, we can do stuff right here at home. We don't have to be globetrotters. There's kids right here in our own backyard that could use a hand. And there was a school that had burned down.
Anova?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'd have to check on that. But
Yeah.
we found a volleyball club off of over by the airport in Santa Rosa that allowed us to use their space, and we basically created a safe space for the children of the school to come to during the day.
And were these kids with special needs? Anova
That's right.
specifically serves special needs kids?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, and on the autism spectrum, I believe.
Yeah.
So we set up a place for those children to be able to come, and it was great because some of the teachers that were at the school just came over and helped out too. They were happy to have a place, to continue helping their students and the children.
Sure, you probably for viewers not in Sonoma County are not familiar. The wildfire that hit Santa Rosa last October 9th, about a little over a year ago, was devastating, but also unique in the fact that it affected so many people in the community. Firefighters lost their homes. Two of our county supervisors, I believe, or at least one, lost their homes. City council members lost their homes. Doctors lost their homes. Some of the students and the teachers both had lost their homes to the fires. So it just hit such a broad spectrum of the community, and everyone was dealing with it at once.
That's right. I know, like Cardinal Newman, the school close to where the fire area was, something like 8 out of 10 of their students lost their homes over there. Yeah. We didn't, just to show the devastation. I mean, I think it was the first time I ever heard the term urban wildfire.
Yeah.
It was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. So you helped Inova get back on their feet, and I know you've done some other local projects. Do you have anything coming up in the near future that you're interested in, either going to a different country or getting the schoolie on the road to somewhere around here?
Right now we're working on getting the schoolie down to the border. We want to see if we can help the asylum seekers that are attempting to seek asylum here in the United States from Central and South America. I believe we're gearing up, hoping to send someone down in the next week or two, just to get a feel, a lay of the land, and see how we're going to be able to best operate down there.
Okay, that sounds cool. And so how can our community help the Schoolbox Project? Can't encourage enough to go to schoolboxproject.org. Great website that just has so many stories and testimonials, and also little bios of Sheldon and the rest of the team. But if you have any specific things that our viewers could do to help out.
Well, there's a few different ways. I mean, obviously visiting the website's a good place to start. There's also another great website called Needs List, and if you go on there, that's basically a website that a bunch of different nonprofits use in order to solicit donations. And on that we have like a wish list, so to speak, of our different programs and the needs that we require to keep those programs operating. So that's if someone wants to offer support and not just send us money, that's a great way that you could go there and say, hey, in Andravita they need pencils for their school, and you can just through that site you can just buy the pencils and they'll be shipped directly to the school. Okay. So Needs List is a great source. Also,
keep an eye out for fundraisers that Schoolbox throws periodically. What was that website again? Needs List? Needslist.org.
I believe. Yeah, that's right.
Cool. And check out schoolboxproject.org and check us out on Redwood Coast Studios. And thanks so much, by the way, to all the team members at Schoolbox Project who work so hard and don't get nearly enough recognition for not only the work that they do, but the success that they achieve in helping some of the neediest people that are on our planet today. And Sheldon, thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, Eric. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it too. And check out Redwood Coast Studio.com and check out Redwood Coast Studio on Facebook and on YouTube, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Eric Morse signing out from beautiful Sebastopol, Grayton, California.